So I will be talking about automatization, and I'll be talking about how there is going to be a lot of unemployment, but why that's actually a very good thing. And I'm really looking forward to this possible world where no one has to do any work and can just enjoy their life peacefully. But that's going to require some changes in the mentality, changes in the economy, changes in the legislation. So for those who don't know what automatization is or how big it is and how big it is going to be soon enough, automatization is the idea that the robots have become so sophisticated and so cheap to make that they can replace human labor quite widely. So this is already happening right now, where a lot of robots, as you know, have replaced, for example, humans in car manufacturing. But to a bigger extent, they're also learning to do much more complicated stuff. And eventually, in like 10, 20 years, they're going to be way better than humans at a lot of stuff, including being doctors, being lawyers, being truck drivers, anything really, specifically even if you're on a computer, for example, if your job is to sit on a computer and program stuff, for example, eventually that's also going to be replaced by really sophisticated software. So what I'm talking about here is stuff that's going to happen in 10, 20 years and stuff that's going to happen maybe in 50 years to a more advanced level. All right, so why is this important and what should we think about this process where humans are going to be replaced at their jobs, and not just factories, but white-collar jobs? Well, first of all, it's very likely that there's going to be a big amount of unemployment, not just like 10, 20%, but closer to 40%, just in like 10, 20 years. This is due to that the robots are going to be much cheaper, actually literally free, just costing the electricity once you get it to the workplace. And in many cases, they're going to be better than the humans at doing that job. So, as an employer, why would you not want a free worker that actually is better than the human counterparts? Hello. This, of course, is very beneficial for the people who own stuff. That means that they don't have to pay any salaries, so they're going to be getting much richer. But eventually, I'm going to be arguing that they're going to want to change the system as well, because if there are 40% of us are unemployed, we're not going to be really able to buy their stuff that they produce or use their services that they produce. So eventually, for the economy to work, we're going to have to really change how capitalism works. Unfortunately, unemployment might not be actually that high. It's very likely that we're going to have quite low-level jobs that are going to be paying very little. So these are going to be the jobs that robots are just too fancy for. So basically, for example, just anything that an employer wouldn't want to just get a robot for because it's not worth it. This is something that the human can be employed for. And I don't foresee that the salary would be very high for this. I don't foresee that this job would create a lot of pleasure for the people who are doing that job. So we need to have some kind of a change. And there have been already stuff that have tried to address this problem. For example, there was a bill voted on by the EU Parliament, and this was endorsed by Bill Gates, that we would have a robot tax. So taxation on any company that employs, quote-unquote, employs robots. However, unfortunately, it didn't go through. The argument was that this would stop or slow down the investing into technology of robots. The research would be slowed down, so this is not a good idea. I think that's kind of worrying because we need this kind of tax money to fund the people who are unemployed. So, for example, let's say that it does happen that in 20 years we have 40% unemployment. Just for comparison, in the Great Depression in the 20s and 30s, the unemployment rate was 25%, and it was quite horrible back then. So if it's 40%, it's almost double, quite catastrophic if we don't have a change how we do things. So we definitely need a process that collects extra money from the people who use robots and puts that money to the government who can pay people unemployment benefits or invest in education to educate people into any new possible positions. But I think ultimately what we really need are two things. We need a change in the mentality and we need a change in the economy. So as you know, in the current world, the system is so that you should get a job, otherwise you're a horrible lazy bum. So you're supposed to earn the money, and then you can buy stuff with that money. That's the process we have here in Western Europe. I'm mainly talking about like Europe, America, etc., Western countries here, because that's what I understand more. But in the future, that's perhaps not the ideal situation, because the alternative is that we could just have a really nice life, enjoy life without having to go to work, and still everything that needs to be produced would get produced. I think that would be pretty amazing. So we need to change the mentality. And with this mentality that no, actually we're not supposed to replace the jobs that have been lost. We're not supposed to maybe actually worry, do we have enough jobs or not? We can reach this kind of utopia. However, if we continue with the idea that everyone has to be employed, like for example, still this is the main rhetoric everywhere you see in like the political election, like Trump was talking about jobs, and then we have people talking about jobs here in Finland. Everyone always talks about how to get more jobs. If this mentality continues, we're going to have to rely on those really poor jobs that I mentioned before, that the jobs that the robots are too fancy for, the jobs that are probably not going to be paying enough money to really live a dignified life. That's why we need to change this mentality that no, we don't need people to be finding new jobs. Instead, let's actually just have an enjoyable time. And if we reach this mentality, I would hope that we could reach this kind of economical model. Because the robots can, at some point, literally fulfill all of our needs without us really intervening that much. So they can produce all the food, they can produce all the entertainment, they can produce everything we really need as human beings, and we don't really have to lift a finger. And I think that would be a really great thing if we could reach this kind of world where people can focus on communicating with people, benefiting others around them with their, whatever they want to benefit them with, their philosophical thoughts or their comedy, or just watch YouTube if that's what they want to do with their life. But I think that would be really cool if we could reach this kind of world. Thank you very much.